So this is Dan of Vagabond Awake. I'm here with 𝐂𝐒𝐒 of the Philippines. He's another, what are we called? Dumagatians?
Yeah, some Dumaguetes. I don't know what we're called.
And we met the other day, both in the line for, he was renewing his immigration, and we were looking for other needs we had. And we realized we both had channels, and so we thought we would talk to each other. And so I asked if I could interview 𝐂𝐒𝐒, and he said, yeah. So where are you from, 𝐂𝐒𝐒?
Well, I'm kind of from all over, but I grew up in Minnesota, and then my parents moved to Florida when I was young, and so I guess really Orlando, Florida is kind of where I hail from.
Okay.
Yeah.
And how long have you been in the Philippines?
4 years with a 4-month stint in between going into Vietnam.
Okay. So 4 years, and in the middle you went to Vietnam. Was that for the break for the 36-month visa situation, or?
Well, I did actually. When I first got here, I was working here in Cebu. I was on a work visa for a little over 2 years, and so I went over there for work actually, and went there for 4 months, and then kind of missed some of the aspects of the Philippines. So I came back, and now I actually got stuck here, like a lot of people.
Yeah, and by the way, a lot of my subscribers ask about English teaching as a source of income as a traveler, and that's something 𝐂𝐒𝐒 does, which we'll get to later in the interview, so make sure you stick around. But as you know, my channel specializes in just getting an idea of what cost of living is for people that want to live in different parts of the world. And so what are you spending here to live, 𝐂𝐒𝐒?
Well, I've got, I guess, two budgets: before pre-pandemic and post-pandemic. But pre-pandemic, I was probably spending about $1,300 US a month. Post-pandemic, because we don't do the island-to-island traveling now, so it's just locally. So I would say about 1,000, and I live pretty decently. I eat out, and I live in a pretty nice place, so I feel pretty good at 1,000. And
is that just you, or do you have a girlfriend, or?
Have a girlfriend, and so that's two of us.
And she lives with you?
She does.
And just to give them an idea of the breakdown, roughly how much is your rent, electricity, food, that kind of thing, if you know?
I have a kind of an all-inclusive rental. It includes internet, water, satellite TV, trash, everything except for electric. And that is $320 US a month. And then, well, because we're at home a lot more with the whole pandemic, my electric is about $100 a month, which is a bit expensive for Southeast Asia, but $450, I would say, for everything, and then you add in the food and visa costs, health insurance, and we're sitting at about 1,000 then.
Okay, you bring up a question I was going to ask you. Do you have health insurance, and if so, what are you paying? And if you don't mind telling us where you get it.
Yeah, I actually go through Nomad Insurance, and I actually have it on my channel in the description, but I think I spend about $130 a month. So that's probably one of my more expensive bills, but it's travel insurance, but it also serves as long-term insurance if you need it to be.
Okay. So it will not only repatriate you, but it will also take care of you in whatever country you're in if you need that.
Yeah, it follows you, and it will follow you in the U.S., but only small stints, like I think like 2 week. Like you couldn't use it as health insurance in the U.S. full time.
Because it's too expensive there, right?
Too expensive, and I don't think they would cover it. I think it's in their exclusions.
Great. And what about, let's see, would we forgot anything expense-wise? It's all in 1,000, including your insurance.
Yeah, health insurance, visa costs, food, rent, electric, internet, all of that's, I think, yeah.
Okay, so tell us another thing that a lot of people that are thinking about living overseas, they worry about. They hear how terrible the world is and how safe it is in the U.S. What's your experience of that? You've not only lived here, but you've lived in other places, you've taught in other places, and how would you characterize safety both here and in other places you've been? Right?
I honestly feel like the U.S. in certain cities and areas are more dangerous than here in the Philippines, to be honest. Vietnam was very safe, one of the safest countries. Malaysia, I felt very safe. Thailand, for the most part, I felt very safe. So overall, I find Southeast Asia to be safer, than the U.S. in a lot of places.
That's great.
Honestly,
that's great. So, give us a few pros and cons of living here in the Philippines, particularly here in Dumaguete.
Well, pros. You're in Southeast Asia and they speak English. The only other place like this is, I guess, Singapore and Malaysia, and I think that's it. But so that's a big pro. Friendliness. People are very approachable, very willing to help you if you're lost or need help. So very friendly people, very approachable. I suppose dating would be a big advantage in the Philippines. A lot of guys come here for that. Disadvantages, they are a bit behind their neighbors as far as like infrastructure, internet. They get these brownouts in Dumaguete. I'm not sure if you've had one of those yet, but
get a couple a month.
Yeah. So they're a bit behind their neighbors as far as infrastructure, and I call it organized chaos is what I call the Philippines. So
interesting. And so you mentioned the Philippines, Malaysia, Vietnam. Any other countries that you spent some time in?
Thailand, I was there for about 6 weeks, and then I've been throughout Europe, and I've been through Central America, not really South America, but Central America.
Great. So your opinion really is interesting because you've been around.
Bit.
And so, is this one of the cheaper countries that you've been in? Would you say?
It is. I think Vietnam might be a little bit cheaper in my opinion. But it also depends, where you're living at in the country.
Right.
Cebu is much more expensive than here. Manila is much more expensive, like Makati. But here, you can live pretty well for $1,000. But in Makati, probably not.
Right. So. Yeah, good point. And once in a while I'll chat with somebody who's in a province somewhere in a really, really small town.
Right.
And the rent is silly, like $50 or $100.
Right.
And that's, so it is possible to do that, but it's not my cup of tea really. I'd rather be somewhere with a few more people, more restaurants, and
I agree.
More choices. So.
Yeah, for sure.
So you're also interesting in the aspect that you're doing something that many people would like to do, and that is you're creating some money while you're traveling the world by teaching English. And what would you say? It sounds like what you're doing is a little more sophisticated. Maybe you're teaching a higher level of English, and so what's a typical sort of money that an English teacher would make in the first few years, and what do they need to do to get down that path if they want to pursue it? What are your thoughts on that?
I guess a couple of things. It can be if you're relying on teaching only as income when you come out here, it's kind of a dangerous thing because you're not working for like a U.S. company. At any point they could say, hey, we're letting go teachers, or we don't need you anymore. They can just let you go. There are companies from China or Vietnam or wherever. So most people who've been doing this for a while will pick up 2 or 3 small online companies and teach for a couple companies for security. But you can bring typically $1,500 to $2,000 if you hustle and do 20 to 30 hours a week, I suppose.
Okay.
Yeah. You can get into higher income if you start like specialized teaching, like they have something called IELTS and TOEFL, which is advanced English.
That's a certification you get, right?
Certification, yeah, that you can get.
And is that one you have?
Yeah, it is. Yeah, I kind of learned early on that a lot of people were paying more and looking for these specialized English teachers, so I went off into that direction.
And what did the course cost you? By the way, TOEFL's TOEFL. Go ahead.
Yep. Yeah, and IELTS, IELTS. Let's see, I think I paid about $350. It's not real expensive.
And is that course available in various parts of the world? And
It's available online. You want to make sure it's accredited and schools recognize it. They also offer it in person throughout Southeast Asia too.
Okay.
A bit more expensive that way. Yeah.
Nice. So is it? It's online courses, and then do they test you online, or how do you test out of the certificate?
Yeah, it's they test you all the way through it to move from each level throughout the course. They'll be time testing.
Nice.
Yeah.
And then is there a web page once you have that certificate that you register yourself in order to be a teacher, or what's the next step?
You simply print off your certification that's got a certificate number, and it's accredited, and so that's really about it.
Okay. And then where do you find the jobs?
You can join a lot of Facebook groups. Really, Facebook is great because a lot of jobs are advertised through Facebook. In Vietnam, though, when you look for jobs, a lot of them aren't even posted. You just go into the schools and
just walk in the school.
Just walk in. Hey, are you hiring? And
right. Yeah.
So,
well, that's great. So you've been here almost 4 years, or about 4 years?
About 4 years in December.
And how long ago did you leave the U.S., if you want to say it that way? I mean,
I left in December 2016.
Okay. And are there things that you would things you wish you knew when you first left that you would have done before you left, and things you wish you knew that you could have saved some time or money if you're thinking about living overseas?
I would have worked more on income that what's the word? That's just rolling in without you having to do a lot of work. What's the word for that? Passive income. Yeah. Electronics are good to get in the U.S. before you come here, so I would have upgraded on stuff and brought it. What else? I would have just worked on my income, on getting good sustainable income. If you're under retirement age before you come out here, this is not the place to come out and then try to figure out.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I would probably do that.
Yeah, that's great advice. And so 1,000 a month. But what about safety? Like, would you want to have some money in the bank too in case something happened? And if so, how
Absolutely.
much? What's a minimum you'd feel comfortable?
Well, when I came out here, I had my 401k for my job, which I don't even count that because I can't really touch that. But I set aside $10,000 for myself. Granted, if some major emergency happened, that's enough to get me back home and get me a surgery if you're out in Asia. But health insurance is a must. I didn't have that early on, and I would tell people to get that. But $10,000 was what I came out with. I felt pretty comfortable with that. But again, this is one of those things that more is always better, right? The more you can get, the better off you are.
That's true.
But I think a lot of people don't differentiate, like, I got a big 401k, but I've got 5,000 in savings. I really wouldn't count your 401k. It's got to be liquid, that you can touch.
Yeah, there's a big penalty for pulling money out of your 401k. And
right.
You really don't want to deplete that before your retirement age. So that's really good advice.
Yeah.
You also mentioned on your webpage you have a link to the insurance the Nomad insurance. Is that?
Yeah, and all my YouTube videos in the description, I got links.
Okay.
There. So.
Good. And so, if somebody wants to pick this up when they go over to your channel, is it on every video? Could they watch any video and look below the YouTube channel and find out more about the insurance?
Yep. Any video, it's in the description.
And this is an example of passive income that Gio's talking about now. You probably get a commission if someone buys it through the link.
Yep. It's an affiliate. So.
Affiliate link, yeah. So do you have any other forms of passive income that you're working on?
I sell T-shirts on the side. I don't do it for my really YouTube channel, but I have. It's a whole other conversation. But I've been trying to get into selling T-shirts, and I'm kind of breaking into that. But I do it a selective market in the U.S. With different designs. So I've been working on that. That's not tied to YouTube at all. And then I have some other affiliate links, like Airbnb. You get some credit there. I don't know, I'm drawing a blank all of a sudden, but no, I know I have about like 5 of them. But like investing, I have some stuff there and different things. Yeah.
In terms of banking, any tips about that? Like what bank you go with that you find is good online, and that maybe the fees are reasonable, that kind of thing. Do you have any advice about that?
So I suppose it depends what country you're watching from, but if you're watching from the U.S., Charles Schwab refunds all your ATM fees. Fidelity Investment does that as well. USAA does $15 a month, they'll refund, so those are good. I always tell people have multiple sources to be able to get money. Like, don't just have one ATM card, also have a credit card, and don't carry them together, and maybe sign up for a way to transfer yourself money, like Remitly or something like that. Because I went through an experience where my card expired. They shipped me the card. It never got here. I had to ship again, and 2 months went in between where I had no card to withdraw money, so I was wiring myself money, but I had something set up, so luckily.
Yeah, great advice. I always think of processes like that as you sort of like need a backup, and then maybe even a second backup. Because the internet can go down in places and the ATMs don't work, or you can have a surprise where you need more cash than you thought you would and have on hand, and maybe your card only lets you pull out a couple hundred at a time. So if you have that backup card, so just think of that. Really good advice. So
for sure.
So it's great to talk to somebody with a YouTube channel, and to hear your tips are great, and I've enjoyed watching your videos. I recommend that you go over to Gio's channel. I'll put a link below my YouTube channel over there, but you can also just go to YouTube and search on Gio, G-I-O, in the Philippines.
Gio in the Philippines,
Yeah, and you can check it out. Thanks so much, Gio.
Thanks a lot.
It's great having you on our channel.
Thank you, I appreciate it.
Have a good day.
Take care.
This is Dan of Vagabond Awake. Thanks for watching. Hey, in case you have to retire sooner than you thought, or you don't have quite as much money as you thought you're going to need to retire, click the link in the notes below this YouTube video. We have over 50+ reports about how to retire cheap in beautiful places like this all over the world. Thanks for watching. Please click the link in the notes below this YouTube video to get a copy of this content. Pause the video now to read this important liability disclaimer that limits your rights. You can also find this disclaimer in the description below this YouTube video. Basically, your reliance on the information in our videos is strictly at your own risk. So seek appropriate professional advice before taking any action on our videos.